Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Celtic Warband here, and thanks for tuning in to another battle in Total War Warhammer 2. It's been quite some time since we've had any Warhammer content on the channel, but I thought this would be a good battle to start off Battle Week. So I hope you guys do enjoy, and without further ado, let's take a look at the army comps. The first army we have on the battlefield today is Clan Angrund, commanded by myself, and of course led by Belegar Ironhammer, one of my favorite Dwarven lords. And on either side he has 2 units of Thunderers, totaling 4 in the front line, so that pretty much comprises my skirmish troops. Closely behind that I have 4 units of Longbeards, and there's no explanation needed as to why they are called Longbeards. Just behind that, for my artillery, I have 2 units of organ guns. I've also got a couple of rune lords as well. I've got Dramar Hammerfist, who is a missile specialist, so he'll be able to buff my organ guns and my thunderers. And I believe I have Throny Ironbrow over here, who is a support specialist. Over on the other flank, I have 2 units of Giant Slayers, just because I knew we were going to be up against some big some Lizardmen, and they have some big beasties that may need to be taken down by these Giant Slayers. And of course, the cream of my army, the Iron Breakers, I've got 2 units of them on the flanks. Hopefully I'll be able to utilize their blasting charges and then charge them in to finish the job. But that pretty much rounds out my force, so let's go ahead and take a look at my ally. The second army on the battlefield today is the High Elves, commanded by Noob Nath, and he's got a pretty good mix of infantry, cavalry, and beasts on the battlefield. In the front lines, he has 5 units of spearmen, just basic spearmen to hold the line. He's also got a couple of units of the Phoenix Guard here. 2 units of them, one on either flank. He's also got Tyrion on the battlefield and a Light Mage, I believe. He also has, of course, the Dragon here, the Star Dragon. And he's got a lot of units scattered in and about his army, a lot of archers. Of course, that is the High Elf strength. He has 6 units of the archers with light armor. He also has 2 units of Silver Helm's cavalry here. And then way over on this side, he has an Ithilmar chariot. Very cool looking chariots indeed. And that pretty much rounds out his force. So let's go ahead and take a look at the enemies. The first enemy army we have on the battlefield today is the Lizardmen, commanded by Zimbo Donde, and he's got a really solid infantry line here. He's starting with the Star Chamber Guardians Temple Guard here, and then we've got 5 units of Saurus Warriors, some with some Chevron upgrades. For his big beast back here, he's got Lord Croak, which is one of the best Lizardman lords. A lot of good spells that he can cast down on the enemy. And he also has the Shredder of Lustria, Dread Saurian. Over on this flank, he's got some Kroxigors, and I believe this is his general here. We've got Nakai the Wanderer. And way over on this flank, he's got some Puck Hopek cohort, Cold One Spear Riders, and he also has some Sacred Kroxigors as well. So some very expensive but very deadly units on the battlefield. And that rounds out his force, so let's go ahead and take a look at his ally. The final enemy army on the battlefield today is the Empire, commanded by Ezand III, and he has gone for an artillery spam, and I totally forgot in Warhammer 2 multiplayer that can happen if you don't make any rules. But he does have a couple of units of skirmishers in the front lines. He has 2 units of the Huntsmen, 2 units of Thunderers. We've got Balthazar Gelt here on a Pegasus, and we've got a couple of Luminarchs, I believe. We've got the Luminarch of Hish, and the Templehof Luminarch of Hish, so nice crimson coloring there. But the rest of his units are just artillery. He has 3 units of the Hellblaster volley guns and 4 units of Hellstorm rocket batteries. And that pretty much rounds out his very powerful force. So let's go ahead and get to the Alright guys, welcome to the battlefield, and as you can see, the Dwarven army is under very heavy fire from those Hellstorm rocket batteries and the Hellblaster volley guns, I believe is what you call them. Thankfully, Belegar is a hardened battle warrior, and he gives the command for his units to start moving forwards, but they are just being absolutely annihilated as they crest this hill. Thank goodness the dwarves are a sturdy bunch, and their morale is holding, and I'm trying to get my Thunderers to move forwards to get into a position to fire on the Saurus warriors. So basically, I think what their plan was that the Lizardmen were going to hold the front line, and the Empire was just going to volley us into oblivion. And we did not bring enough artillery to deal with this initially. You can see that Noob Nath, all he has is one of those, what are they called? The Eagle Claw bolt throwers, that's right. And then I have my 2 organ guns, which under normal circumstances are amazing pieces of artillery. But you can see that I have already lost one of my organ gun crews, and the second one has just started to fire, albeit I did get a good volley into those Croxidors. You can see I'm also moving forward to my Giant Slayers. Those are the perfect units to use against these Croxidors, and also my Thunderers are getting a good amount of volleys into the Saurus warriors as they move forwards. I'm sure this is going to be a pretty good charge. It looks like the Croxidors tried to get away from my Giant Slayers, but I just managed to catch them in time. And now they are engaged against my Giant Slayers. No, they're still trying to push in against my Thunderers. Thankfully, my Longbeards push in to block that charge, and that charge was absolutely terrible, unfortunately, for the Lizardmen player. We've also got the Dread Saurian, I believe, coming in. This is going to be a terrifying beast to battle. However, it looks like we do have the chariot here, the Ithamar chariot, which stopped the charge of the Shredder of Lustria, and now my Giant Slayers are moving in to rip it down. You can see over on the other side here, we do have Noob Nath moving forwards. Unfortunately, his Phoenix Guard were pushed up first, and they were destroyed by the Hellblaster volley guns. You can see that I believe they are retreating, and they haven't gotten many kills to their name, unfortunately. Now we've got the Temple Guard moving in against these Spears, and this is going to be a very challenging fight for these Spearmen. They are way outclassed when fighting against the Temple Guard. Not to mention, this is, I believe, a regiment of renown, so they're going to be even more tough to deal with. But just constant battering from that rocketry. You can see that a lot of my units here, Thunderers, my 2 organ cannons, well, actually, one of them is still fairly healthy, which is good. But my units have taken a lot of damage. Thankfully, the Dread Saurian was absolutely annihilated by those Giant Slayers, so definitely a good one to go for taking down the beasts of the Lizardmen. And I was very thankful that the Empire player, he actually didn't go for my Iron Breakers here. He left them completely untouched, which I think was a big mistake on his part. He was really focusing my organ guns, trying to neutralize them, but thankfully my best units were untouched, as I said. We're breaking through in the center too. We've actually destroyed Nakai the Wanderer. This player is kind of just sending in his units one by one, which I think is a big mistake. I'm able to use my numbers and my more heavily armored infantry to win the day. Kazook, yes, as they charge in against these Saurus warriors. We've got another unit of Saurus warriors being held in reserve, but my Iron Breakers are moving in on the flanks. And this was an absolutely huge thing that Noob Nath did, finally silencing all of this artillery with his Silver Helms. He was able to snake them right behind and absolutely obliterate any artillery presence that the Empire hoped to have towards the end of the battle. So you can see almost all of his units have broken, aside from one unit of Hellstorm Rocket Battery, which is just holding on. You did see that that blast from Lord Croak. Now he is getting into melee as well. But the Empire is significantly weaker without all of his artillery. That was a huge hit by Nath. Unfortunately, he did lose his dragon over here, though, in the process. Or where was it? Yeah, it was over here. It retreated, but the Hopek cohort, the Cold One Spear Riders, they ran it down and destroyed it. But this is what they were so focused on, too, that I think that was the reason that he was able to get his Silver Helms in behind enemy lines. Huge charge into all of the Huntsmen and Thunderers here as well. The Empire has absolutely no front line units, so he doesn't have much of an answer to these Silver Helms. Also over here you can see that I'm still fighting my way through the Saurus Warriors. The Saurus Warriors are a pretty solid unit all around, but they're not going to be able to stand a chance against my Iron Breakers that I've got on this flank. We've got Nakai the Wanderer actually coming back over the hill. He's ready to enter battle once again. Oh my goodness, just thrashing through the unit of Iron Breakers. Thankfully, they're so heavily armored that he isn't going to do much damage to them. And he is already so weakened by the Giant Slayers that he was battling earlier. I'm not sure if they have a bonus against him or not, but he should be retreating again very shortly. Let's go ahead and put this on slow motion because the battle is actually already almost over. Doomnath doing a really good job on this flank with his archers in beating the Huntsmen. The Huntsmen obviously have no chance when going up against some of the High Elf archers. And it looks like we have Tyrion moving in as well. It looks like the Empire handgunners are trying to quickly get a volley into him before he does charge in and destroy them. He's just unfazed by the gunfire. There we go. Charge in, Tyrion. You can see up in the distance, we've got Balthazar Gelt, and I'm sure he is just trying to keep order amongst his men, but having lost all that artillery, there's not much else that they're going to be able to do at this point. We do have Lord Croak over here as well, but these Silver Helms still causing a problem behind enemy lines. And now we've got some of the dwarves in to help as well, and I believe that's when most of the Empire units break from the battlefield. You can see even Balthazar Gelt there under fire from the High Elf archers retreating from the battlefield, and the only one left is Lord Croak himself, fighting some of my Giant Slayers. Oh my goodness, he's such a powerful lord. Come on, Giant Slayers, tear him down. There we go, we got some volleys from the archers as well. And there we go, a Pyrrhic victory. Man, Warhammer 2 battles are over so fast, but there's just so much action packed into 5 or 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and take a look at the end results here. So here's my army. So looks like one of the Rune Lords was actually wiped out before getting any kills. Belegar Ironhammer did tank a lot of damage against the Saurus Warriors, and I believe against the Dread Saurian as well. He was in the mix with the Giant Slayers. The Giant Slayers actually doing really well for me, 50 and 58 kills. Iron Breakers, 38 and 15. The Thunderers, a couple of them getting wrecked by the volleys from the Empire, same with my cannons, but the other two did okay. And remember, these are pretty low kills, but remember that they didn't really field many units to begin with. You can see 763 and 694. Looking at Noobnath's forces, his Spearmen didn't do too much, his Phoenix Guard actually didn't even see melee, but Tyrion did pretty well, his archers doing pretty well, but those Silver Helms are the MVPs of the day, 293 and 90, and 5 units, maybe even 6 units of artillery eliminated. Looking at Zimbo Donde, Nakai the Wanderer, I don't really think he's a good lord, to be honest. I've heard other people say that he's pretty underpowered. Lord Croak only getting 42 kills. His Saurus Warriors doing okay, I suppose. The Temple Guard, not so much. The Crocscore's getting 0 kills. The Sacred Crocscore's getting 82, which isn't too bad. But the Dread Saurian only getting 4 kills. The Giant Slayers just ripped it to shreds. And yeah, here's the artillery, 123, 146, 61. Then we have 107, 98, 75. So yeah, good kills on the Empire, but unfortunately, the rest of his units didn't really do too much damage. And I think that those Silver Helms, as I said, were the only reason we were able to scrape a victory out of this one. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed today's battle, however short it was. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. And I will see you in the next one.